So the other day I was like, scrolling through LinkedIn, and like, I found this pretty cool project of like, people using Mediapipe to do pretty cool things like play Temple Run and, draw in the air and stuff. And I thought, why don't I do it by myself? So I set on a journey and decided to build a Minecraft system so that I can play with my hands, like, mind control type shit.
Bruh.
I decided the stack should be like, OpenCV for media streaming, Mediapipe for detection, NumPy for, the AI inference. We'll get back to that in a minute. And Pynput for like, sending all the commands and stuff. So it was a, pretty standard system. And yeah, so I got to work. I started off with like, OpenCV and Mediapipe and some garbage boilerplate stuff like that. That shit was bad. So I wrote a simple like, a script which I can just pull from Git. So every time I need that same Mediapipe system, I can just copy it. So I won't have to write the entire boilerplate again, because there was a lot of boilerplate code which I couldn't be bothered with. Anyways, so I loved that all the points were normalized. You had like 21 landmarks, and all of them were normalized, so they were not like, with pixel values. They were with respect to the entire thing, so they were from 0 to 1, which was great for the inference, right? And I also found it really cool that I could select how many hands I wanted to detect. So I could select like 2 hands detection or 1 hand detection. In the system, linked in the description below, there's only 1 hand system, but you can change it to be a 2 hand system. And also I found like Mediapipe is like just pretty lightweight in nature, especially their model. It's like pretty lightweight, and it was like running basically in real time. So that was about 30 FPS for me. And that this is pre-inference. This is when we were like, just checking out landmarks on my hand and stuff. Now it was like, time for like, data collection. So there were 21 landmarks, and each of them had 3 coordinate values, X, Y, and Z. I just used X and Y like, to keep it simpler, because I didn't want to introduce the Z variable, though that would be pretty easy to compute. I just thought like, it's an unnecessary amount of like, work and data. So 21 landmarks times X and Y, and we get 42 data points. Along with that, I also had like a sample ID and label, and so we have 44 columns in our data set in total. Then I went to making the model. So I thought I was like a pretty cool one of those nerdy kids, and I made like a very simple model with NumPy in the past. But the moment I needed to add 2 layers, like, I chickened out. Like that shit was insane because of the computation required. So instead, what I did was I used PyTorch. It was a pretty basic thing with PyTorch, especially now that we're using like, raw numbers and not images. And so there were like 42 input layers, and I had some linear and non-linear layers. Yeah, so we had one linear layer and one ReLU function, and I kept using that. So in total we had 3 linear layers, and between each linear layer there was a non-linear layer of the ReLU, and so we had 128 hidden layers, 128 points in the each hidden layer. So 42 to 128, 128 to 128, and then 128 to 3 points as the output. If you want to add more points, you would have to change the last label. Sorry, the last output. So instead of 3, you might, if you have say 5 options, then you can change that to that. And yeah, basically everything else works exactly as you would expect it to work. Following that, then I had to write inference.py, and this was pretty annoying with Pynput again. Like I did not expect Pynput to be this annoying, but I did end up writing like a pretty neat system. And the clicker works great. Like I use that to like defeat my brother in PvP. Clearly my system is way better than his hands. You can check out the thing here. So with that out of the way, Pynput was working and I was finally able to run it. Now another thing I wanted to talk about with the setup is that on Wayland, so that's where I learned that's where I run Omarchi and Arch. On Wayland it doesn't work that well because I think it's something related to Pynput and inputs. So you might have to look at that. So I was not able to play it on Arch Linux, Hyperland that is, but I was able to play it on Windows, so I'll take that. So the pros of the setup is that it's expandable to any number of hand gestures with enough data points. You can use the Z coordinate for more precision and expand, and you can expand to use multiple game systems. For example, you could open the inventory with another hand gesture by just sending the E button click. And there are obviously some cons to the setup too, right? It does not track the dynamic gestures. The problems with Wayland, like how I just mentioned, and may not work on an extreme potato PC. My PC specs are on screen, nothing crazy, but it was running at 30 FPS or so I'll take that as a win. Though I would like to put an asterisk there saying that I limited my FPS to 30. I am not sure how it would work on a pro setup where the FPS is not limited. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.